Hello, my astrology friends. Welcome to this tutorial on how to use transits and especially the transit calendar, which I have created for you to benefit the most so you can predict your future, so you can plan accordingly, so you can take the best advantage to work with the stellar influences and follow the cosmic weather. And this will be particularly useful to those of you who are legacy members and have lifetime access to their transits from the legacy membership of Astrology on the calendar, or those of you who unlock more than the free version of 7 days, those of you who buy by month or 2 months or 3 months. This tutorial will be extremely useful for you to know how to use those transits. So let's start immediately, because we have so many transits that happen daily. And I want to teach you which are the actually most important ones and how to zone on periods in the forthcoming year for you, or months that will be particularly intense or particularly blissful or particularly difficult, and how to figure out which are the most important transits for you, because each day a person can have up to 15 transits. Sometimes there is none, but sometimes there is many, and you can't, and sometimes the information is conflicting. And what is transits? Let me first explain. This is the most powerful tool of astrology and prediction. So when you're born with the planets sitting in different places. For example, when you're born, the sun might be in the sign of Aries, the moon in the sign of Virgo, Venus in the sign of Capricorn. Each planet has a position, but your birth chart becomes like a snapshot of the positions of the planets at the moment you are born, and it stays stationary. But the planets, they continue moving. They don't stop because you were born and stay like that. And every time those planets that continue moving pass through a certain point in your horoscope that stays stationary, because we made a snapshot of the planets when you were born, and say these are the planets when you were born, they stay like that, but other planets keep on moving. And now say this planet moves here and it triggers certain point in your horoscope, another planet or another house, which is a different area of life, and then it moves and it triggers this one, and then this one, or activates with an aspect this one. This is what transits are, and this is the main tool of astrologers for prediction. They're real time, and they happen often to the day. Sometimes there is a delay of 2-3 days, but the transit calendar usually gives you a time span when it's the most potent time for you to feel it. Because the exact transit happens always on one day, but you can feel it maybe a few weeks before, depending how fast the planet moves, or a few days before, and the transit calendar shows you this. Let me start sharing my screen so you see what I mean. Here we go. So go to your profile if you already have created one. I'm logged in. So I'm just going to go to the personal transit calendar, although you can log in from the legacy membership. Sorry. There is a direct link, but I made a mistake. So here is my profile. There you go. And I already have here my, sorry, I need to go from another place. It's still in demo version. So let me log in here. Up. I don't have access to it. I think the people working on it, the IT team. Let me see. What is happening? It keeps bringing me back to the... So anyway, I'm going to use another profile that is not, it's open for a year. So this is what you're going to get. And you can move it back and forth to see, depending how long you've paid for. And you see how many transits there might be per day, and you can see it by month view. So you can see one day here, the 9th, for example, can have so many transits, the 10th, so many transits. So which ones, how do you see important periods? And which are the most important transits? Well, we've basically put them in the order. The short-term transits, you see, they last a day at most, 3 days at most. The short-term transits, they're above. The more longer lasting a transit, which means more impactful, it will influence you for a longer time, those transits come lower, below. So you see, the faster moving planets, which are Mercury, Venus, they're above, they influence is short, you click here and you read what it means for you. Okay, great. It's even a short description because it's not very powerful. It's not going to change or transform your life, this transit. But then we go to longer transits. So you see, then we have a lot more explanation. This is for 4 or 5 days influence, Mars transit. You see, and then there is even longer transit. You see, we go, and they're the ones that are below. The further below you go, the longer influence they have. So the more impactful, more life-changing. And these are the transits usually from Mars downwards, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, Neptune. You have here below a legend that shows you what is the symbol of each planet. And usually the transits of Mars, which are in red, of Jupiter, of Saturn, of Neptune, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and even Rahu and Ketu, the south and north node, north and south node, they're way longer lasting. So when you see those colors, starting from Mars, the moon is here, it's short transit, but Mars, Jupiter, orange, Saturn, brown, the grays of Rahu and Ketu, the blue of Uranus, the light blue of Neptune, the blood red, the kind of red, dark red of Pluto. These are the really long-lasting, important transits that you have to see. You see how much longer they last. If you go back, you can see some of those carry on and on and on. So it's best to focus on those for the lasting influences, and those shorter ones, they will just tell you that, okay, maybe you're having Saturn conjunct your 4th house cusp. And if you can read here, it tends to be tough, especially on family matters, a lot of responsibilities, maybe taking care of older people or family members, maybe fixing a house or something. It carries on. It's not just one day event. It carries on sometimes for a year, a Saturn transit with stop and start. And you're like, oh my God, when is that going to end? And you see that here it eases up from that date, from the 15th onwards. But throughout this whole month, maybe you're having Saturn transit. And during those shorter transits of Venus, for example, or Mercury, you're going to have, especially when they're good transits, easier. And all of the pink transits, they're usually positive, they're usually easier transits. And you see a bit of a relief here. You see on the 31st, on the 1st, there will be some. In the long scope, the longer transit is more influential. That's what will show the big events, but the short one can give you like a day of respite, maybe some good positive influence, date or a nice restaurant experience, so this is how you compare how important is one transit to another, the duration. But, let's go through all the different types of transits. If you see a period when there'll be a lot of, let's start with Mercury. A lot of green transits. So there might be a period when you going around, when you see kind of, here, for example, on one day, there is 3 Mercury transits. There is 3 as well here at certain period. Sometimes there might be 4 or 5. So when you see a conglomeration of the green transits, Mercury transit, it will give you a few days that are very mercurial. What does it mean? That are very business oriented, usually with a lot of communication, writing, speaking. Mercury is the planet of communication. You might be talking more on the phone. You might be more on social media. You might be getting a lot of news. You might have a lot of administrative work to do that requires writing or speaking or using your skills and your brain. That requires negotiating. There might be a lot of more interactions, social and communications with people. This is usually when it's more hectic about trade, commerce, interacting with clients, writing all those kind of emails and type of things. Information is just like an overflow of information, but they're short, whether it's a difficult or easy transit. And you see, how do you recognize the easy or difficult? The opposition and the square are known as the more challenging aspects. So if there is more Mercury transits, green ones that show this square or this opposition, like here, for example, and the conjunctions can be quite intense, but they can go good, or like you see here, opposition, square. Well, then those Mercury things will still be very present, but they'll be more challenging. Maybe you have to discuss a difficult topic. Maybe you have to there'll be some obstacles with your phone or with your communications, or maybe you have to use your skills with extra focused attention. You can feel a bit more frustrated, or maybe someone says something and that, or maybe someone says something or you misplace some information. So there is a bit more obstacle. When there is positive Mercury aspects, which is usually the conjunction, the trine, the sextile. The sextile is this little star. The trine is this triangle. Then all Mercury things, whether you're taking exams, whether you're making business deals, talking with someone, signing documents, whether you're traveling somewhere. Mercury is a planet of traveling, whether with plane or train or whatever. Then things go quite well. Maybe you're buying a car, then you like the good Mercury, to have a bit, at least 1 or 2 good Mercury transits around that time, because they make things with communication, with traveling, with information, with business go much smoother, and you fulfill it with ease. But even with the challenging Mercury days, don't stress about it. It will just mean more nervous energy, because Mercury naturally rules the nervous energy, stimulation of the senses, overstimulation. But you have to be a bit more careful for that. Then we go to Venus transits. When you see a few days with quite a few Venus transits, like for example here, this period has quite a few Venus transits. The Venus are in pink. You see there is a lot of Venusian energy some days. Maybe I can click on other days. Sometimes there is no Venusian energy, but look this period here. Whoa, for 22nd till the 29th of October, I think, for this person that we are showing was very Venusian. So when you see such a period ahead, you're like, ooh, Venus transits. And even the difficult transits of Venus, which is like the opposition we have here, the square, they still feel gentle. They still feel nice, because it's a planet that is pleasant. So when you see a lot of pink transits, you're like, this will be a time when actually you can indulge in the 5 senses somehow. You can have something enjoyable, like go on a date. Venus is the planet of love, of relating. You can feel more connected to your partner. You can feel more loving. You can be more balanced. You can be less reactive then. And actually you can win the hearts of others through charm. When you see a lot of Venus transits, even difficult ones, you're naturally more charming. You're naturally more agreeable. You're naturally more willing to collaborate and cooperate with others. This is perfect time if you have to ask someone for a favor. This is the pink transits. This will be perfect time if you want someone to attract them on your side, or if you want to go on a date, or if you want to plan some nice holiday where you enjoy the time, when you are loved up and cozy with your partner, you go and experience good food, good wines. Even if it's just one day Venus transit, you can just go to the restaurant and you'll probably order much tastier. The cook that day would have a much tastier dish for you. Or if you're someone in Venusian careers, that is art, beauty, makeup, fashion, working with women, luxury industry, selling any beauty products or any luxury products, then Venusian periods, pink periods, will be extremely powerful, hectic, or busy for you, quite depending if the transits are, if the Venus transit are square opposition, there might be certain efforts, more efforts that you have to do. There might be certain clash of in relationships of what you want versus what the other party wants, whether business or personal exchanges and interactions with people, because Venus is a very social planet as well. But overall, it will feel like you're calmer, you're chilled, you're more relaxed. And even if you're having some difficult transit below, some stressful influences like Mars or, Saturn, the longer lasting transits. You see here, for example, Saturn transits, they're always kind of hard, whether they're easy aspects or no, they always indicate a lot more pressure, a lot more demands of you, and they usually last much longer. But you see in this period, for a few days, this person was having a few Venus transits. So those few days, here and there, they would have some pleasant experiences with the life partner, with the marriage partner, or some enjoyable things like watching a good movie, eating some good food, maybe more bonding sensual experience, or maybe buying something beautiful. And you can read what each one means, But when you see, sometimes when you don't have time to read, you just say, whoa, many pink transits. Okay, so that's a good time to plan something enjoyable, Venus, something connected with love, something connected with money. the pink Venus transits, they are very much connected with more. So if you have some to buy something beautiful, valuable, you'll be more attuned to the Venus vibration. When you have Venus transits, you basically choose something with better quality most often, or some more enjoyable, more beautiful, you know. Or if you need to transfer money or do something with invest money, look also for pink transits. They tend to be activate your receptors for value, for what is worthy, for, you know, this kind of Venusian uh, talents. And then we continue the sun transits. They're quite short. I often avoid, I don't even read my sun transits. But the sun transits are connected with your vitality. They're connected with motivation as well. So when you see a lot of yellow transits happening, often the person is doing something, and they're very short as well. They're 2-3 days. They're doing something towards their goals. They're acting in certain direction with more willpower. And again, it's short bursts. So maybe on the day of a sun transit, you'll have more energy for something. You'll have more focused attention towards something. The sun is consciousness, where you put your consciousness. So you put your consciousness in areas connected to the planet that the sun is activating, you know. But what now it gets very interesting when you start seeing a lot of red transits. The red transits are Mars transits. Now you're going to start feeling those. Because Mars transit, as you can see, they're much longer. They usually last 4 or 5 days. And if Mars happen to become retrograde, they can last 3 months or something like that. And of course, the calendar will show you how long each Mars transit is approximately. You know, sometimes you can feel it a few days before. It's some people way more sensitive to cosmic influences, and say if the calendar shows from the 30th till from the 30th of October till the 3rd of November, you're going to have a stressful Mars aspect transit. But some of you that are more sensitive might feel it already from the 29th, 28th. And some of you might feel it even to the 4th. You know, the days are never exact to the second, to the day. It's to orient yourself. Some people feel them a bit, you know, people that are phlegmatic nature will feel transits a bit later. People that have a more reactive nature, like sanguine, choleric, that they just basically, even their nervous system is way more strained, and they feel influences earlier and faster, you know. So these are just orientation periods, but sometimes it can be a day before the beginning, a day or two after, and for the longer lasting, even it can be up to 2-3 weeks before the actual position shows that it starts happening. And for example, you click here and you read this, and this will happen with a Saturn transit. It can be a passion killer, problematic sexual encounters, frustration because of holding in a lot of anger. And you say, okay, this says the 18th of November, 17th, but I've been feeling it since the start of October. You know, sometimes you can, it's kind of those longer ones, starting from Saturn onwards, or Jupiter, Saturn, especially Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And I would even include Rahu and Ketu. Those, remember, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. These you need to give them sometimes quite a bit before, and sometimes quite a bit after the actual transits finishes. And, you know, so you might think like, oh, okay, on the 19th of December, that's it, my sexual frustration stops, so some obstacles. But it might take a bit longer. It might finish a bit earlier, because these are very slowly moving planets. And again, it depends on your psychological makeup. But we've given certain orbs of influence for the planets that are quite common. But again, nothing is, as I said, we're not kind of machines, you know. But when you start seeing Mars transits, now you're going to feel. Because sometimes you can click like, oh, this transit, but I'm not feeling it too much. Oh, this, okay, maybe I'm feeling it a bit. These shorter ones, they might pass by unnoticed, especially if they're very gentle influence, like trine, sextiles. You know, they often, you might not even be aware of it. It might be just some good mood or a feeling or a pleasant thought or something that comes to you. That's how they manifest. But when we start with Mars already, and Mars transits are pretty exact, usually within the period, maybe a day or two before, you're going to feel that. Mars, and it's in the color red, you can see. You see a lot of conglomeration of red Mars transits like here. Well, Mars is energy that will push you into action. There'll be a lot of activity. It might be stressful, especially if it's a conjunction with Mars, this square, opposition. Less so if it's sextile and trine. But again, you'll see acceleration of energy and acceleration, maybe having to rush to catch up some deadlines, stresses, the conjunction, the opposition, the squares of Mars. But when you see a lot of red Mars days, there will be stressful situation. You'd have to fix some problem. Something out of the blue happen. Mars is this kind of energy. Something out of the blue happens, something that you have to immediately respond, crisis respond, something where you have to use your logical, physical power to fix. So even some kind of assertiveness. So these will be red alert days where you might fight more, where you can feel more easily provoked, where you can act more rashly, when you can act, when you can hurt someone, or you can get hurt physically or psychologically, emotionally, but usually it's kind of fast going. In 4 or 5 days it comes down. So usually when I have a lot of Mars transits, I get more easily stressed, I get more anxiety, I have to rush more because I have more things to do, I have to fix something, I become more reactive. Your partners and people towards you can trigger you more easy. So you just realize, oh, I'm gonna have Mars transit, so I better try and take a breath and try and take maybe a day before I react, instead of writing immediately that angry email, or trying to prove myself right. Maybe take an hour to calm down, and then, or instead of slamming the door, or maybe you'll notice that around Mars days, people around you are being angry because it's your vibration, but you're just, because you're aligned to you're triggered by Mars, you'll notice a lot more angry people around you, or frustrated or impatient. And just be kind with yourself and with others and say, oh, it's a Mars day for me. And often Mars days can be used for great influence. When something gets you angry, this can be the biggest stimulation to put you into actions to fix something and to perfect and improve something. The ultimate goal of Mars is to improve, to make something better, to fix it. So I can tell you that some of my best ideas come when I get angry with something. I get angry, say the website start, I get like suddenly 10 emails that some part of the website is very difficult to navigate. It's such shite. I'm so disappointed with this project. And this project has always been there. Maybe it did not malfunction now. It's always been the same. But suddenly when Mars comes, you feel like, oh, you're attacked. Like, oh my God. And this anger that you feel, if it's one such bad comment, okay, you brush it off. And this anger that I would feel and frustration would push me, okay, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to improve it so it's more easier for them to order this or to find out where the products are, or it might be in another situation, your partner finally pushed you to the edge, and you kind of have to address the issue. And but remember, with people, when it comes to people, don't be overly reactive. Use the Mars energy to get something done, to maybe be more physically active. When you see a lot of red transits, go to the gym more, let off steam, do some physical activity. Red transits are great to start out working regimes, are great to do something competitive, are great to push yourself to the limit, like running a sprint rather than a marathon. Those 2-3 days, push yourself, and don't forget that you might be overreactive with people, because you can alienate people as well. But use this energy in a productive way, basically, instead of being frustrated. Go and do something physical. Just go on walks more if you don't have anything productive to do. And Mars transits are they'll be felt. And then we go to Jupiter transits. They're in pink, in orange. Oh, these are the ones we always want to have. Even the difficult Jupiter transits, they feel Jupiter's vibration, basically, when it activates you, even with difficult transits, it activates positivity. When it's a difficult transit, it means that the positivity and the higher vibration and the happiness that Jupiter brings can be a little bit miscalculated, or maybe over-optimistic or unrealistic, but it still feels good. And you can still be lucky in those positions. And of course, when you click on the transit, it tells you the positives and the negatives. But when you start seeing Jupiter transits, let's see. Even one Jupiter transit. You don't have to see 5 or 6 Jupiter transits. One is enough because you see it's a long lasting influence, as you can see. And sometimes if you line up, wow, very Jupiterian period, but the orange is you'll be expanding, you'll be growing, there will be some help coming to you to improve a situation in an easy way, some opportunity connected. So especially if you want to start something important, if you want to something that will grow in your life, do it when there are Jupiter transits, when there are those orange transits. If you want some travel or journey, long journey, travel around the world, or some educational program, Jupiter is high in knowledge to expand your horizon. So again, around Jupiter periods are great. And I often end up launching big important projects or reaping the rewards of something I've been working on when I see a lot of Jupiter transits. There is such expansion and growth and rewards if you've been doing, the right thing. So if you don't have anything interesting happening in your life, when you see Jupiter transits coming, something positive, expansive, mind-opening, exhilarating, something that brings you joy and opportunity and abundance. Opportunities for knowledge and for abundance will come. Expansion of your worldview, expansion of your beliefs, again with Jupiter. So we do love Jupiter transits. I wish all of you to see more of those. And sometimes we can leave a Jupiter transit on, it can be just like a feeling of more positivity. It might not always bring certain results. And I'll tell you how to know when a transit will be most powerful. But definitely it's improved happiness, improving of situations in life. And then we come to Saturn transits, which are in brown. And sometimes they kind of pale, which means that the influence is not as strong. We should have done it more gradually, but I don't know, the colors are a bit. But you see, when you have Saturn transits, even one Saturn transit is enough to be felt, actually to overpower all the other transits, all those daily little transits. This long Saturn transit will be like a background. And Saturn transits are all about extra responsibilities, even the easy aspects, even the trine, the conjunctions are the most powerful. The conjunctions, when you see any conjunction of planet, sometimes if I see too many transits, I'll just go and if I see any conjunction, I'll look at it. So I'll just look, oh, Mercury conjunct the 5th house. So Venus, or Mars conjunct something, or Jupiter on Mars conjunct Neptune. The conjunctions are the most powerful. So in power, always check the conjunctions. Then the oppositions are second in power. Then the squares a third in power. Then the trines, and then the sextiles. So you see the more easy one, sextiles and trines, then not so strong. So when you see any Saturn transit, especially the conjunction, the opposition, and the square, oof, it's a period when basically there is more responsibilities, duties, you are asked to grow up. Often it's a period when you are more restricted in some ways, where you have to overcome some obstacle and to learn to deal in a more methodical way without rushing too much, because Saturn never does anything fast. So you have to proceed slowly with caution, double and triple check everything that you do, because mistakes are revealed when Saturn transits are around. And Saturn's pace is slow, so you have to be like the turtle that wins the race by just never stopping. And you shouldn't force yourself, because you can burn out with Saturn. You should just take baby, small steps, but consistently every day. And you'll notice when there are a lot of Saturn transits around that you're putting some routine always. You're demanded to put routine, to become more efficient, because the responsibilities increase, the duties increase, the difficulties in life sometimes increase. And your demands on yourself, internal or external, also increase. You might become more strict with yourself. You might want to start restricting something in your life and saying no to certain things. You start becoming more introspective and thinking what is good for me and what is not. This is no longer valid. I'll remove it. Saturn is death with sky. It comes to remove things which are no longer valid in your life. But you first go through a period of introspection, or some disappointment, or some heartbreak sometimes, or some big obstacle. And then you have to realize, okay, this is just wasting my time, and I have to be mature about it. And instead of hanging on to this fake relationship or this unfulfilling career, whatever, I have to remove it. Or sometimes when there is a lot of Saturn influence and you're in the right relationship or in the right situation in life, it's just it gets more complicated, and the period of the Saturn transit is for you to create a new routine for it, a new structure for this, to work through the complexities so you can simplify it, and by the end of this transit you can have the Saturnian transit, you can have a more efficient, well functioning, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a career issue, whether it's a health issue of any sort, because often Saturn can bring all of those. And Saturn periods can be especially painful for people that are not good with planning, with organization, with structure, people who have done things before and they never had consequences. Saturn transits bring the consequences of your actions from the past. So they can be also very rewarding if you've been working hard, if you have been doing what is demanded from you according to society, if you have been following rules, if you have been persevering and consistent and taking the long road to the top, and not just trying to take shortcuts. So if you've been putting the hard work, as they say, Saturn transits can escalate again the responsibilities, but give you more authority, more control over the situation. And at the end of the transit, usually rewards for the hard work. But if you're lacking in some area, and everyone is lacking in some area, they're not good organizers with their finances, so they're not very honest with their partners, so they're not very committed to their career, they're not putting it all, or it might be about not committed about taking care of your health. So then, and when Saturn transits, when you see a lot of Saturn transits, you see the results of, let's say, ignorant behavior or irresponsible behaviors in your life. That's why Saturn transits can be quite tough sometimes. But for more mature, responsible people, they're usually periods of increased responsibility, increased seriousness, working through complexity, creating structure, creating more efficiency in their life, and more organization and practicality, and and Saturn transit can always make you feel more down, more like, oh, more depressed, just the opposite of Jupiter. But each transit explains you what it is. Then we continue to Uranus transit. They're quite rare. You see, this person, I don't know if he's even having any Uranus transit. Oh yeah, there is one Uranus transit, square Mercury for the whole year, just one. A lot of times you won't see any. Uranus transits, if you have a Uranus transit, especially the square, the opposition, the square, and the conjunction. The conjunction is the most powerful. You definitely feel that one. You definitely will see a lot of fast-paced changes. If it's the square, opposition, and conjunction, they might be sudden, they might disrupt you. Uranus is the planet of huge changes, so those changes can feel very out of the blue. They can feel that you're unprepared for. They can feel like you're being shocked, like rammed out in the snow naked and slapped and poured cold water over sometimes. But even then, this is when the biggest changes happen. This is when we really leave something behind and move into a new path. When you see Uranus transits, expect new. And I can tell you, that's my husband transit, and he met so many new people, Mercury's people, and communications, and had to learn a lot of new technology stuff. And there was a lot of disruption, because the hard aspects can be disruptions in communication and travel and driving and whatever. But so Uranus transits, big, always these are very important. If you see anything Uranus, which is this kind of purple blue, it's supposed to be dark blue, it shows purple here, then pay attention to those fast changes. Everything turns around. You'd read what it means. And then Neptune transits, again, very important. Neptune transits are very rare, very long. One Neptune transit can, on the same spot, you usually keep seeing it for about 2 years, because Neptune keeps moving back and forth for 2 years over the same spot. It's not going to be for 2 years that you see all the time Neptune, but it comes and goes, and it comes and it goes. But I've put very small orb for Neptune transits, less than for Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto transit. I've put an orb less than a degree, half a degree. So you see the most intense period, you might feel it for about a month of those outer planets, a month and a half or 2 months. So you definitely will feel Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Neptune will be a dissolution of something. Neptune will be more spiritual influence, more introverted, more introspective influence. Neptune will be more artistic influence. Neptune will be confusion, loss, um, all of those things. Neptune with the tough aspects, the square, the opposition, the conjunction, can be disillusionment or being misled or being kind of wishful thinking as well. With the good aspect is more creative, but the hard aspects are the one that you really feel, that you really kind of yearn for something bigger, and you might be taken advantage of or become a victim or become deception or others deceiving you. You can read what each Neptune transit means, and they're good things as well. And then the Pluto transits, of course, they are powerful. Look, this person here has Pluto transits, powerful Pluto transits, which basically they last for about 2 years. You keep seeing them on and off. It will stop for a bit, it will ease. So I can definitely tell you that this is a period when our life with my husband changed, when Pluto transits in the fourth house of property and home and family, big changes. So Pluto is irreversible changes, death upon situation and the rebirth of a totally new one. It often can be quite intense, profound. It's very subtle, but you can read what it means. You'd always, but what I'm trying to say, that you would always feel the Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto transits as a background very powerfully. Saturn will feel it strongly. You know, Jupiter and Mars to a lesser degree, those ones are transitory. They pass and go quickly, you know. But still there. So, and we have lunar eclipses, solar eclipses. You can read about those. The transits of Rahu and Ketu, you can also read about those. But if you don't have time to look at all your transits, quickly go to, which are my longest ones? Okay, Saturn, Pluto. Let me see Mars transit. Okay, this is Mars period. Okay, I don't have time to read all of them, but let me just check the conjunction. There is a conjunction. Here is the circle. Okay, the conjunction, you'll feel it's 2 days only, but nice, only good things for that. So 2 days, Venus transit 31st and 1st of February. That's go on a date, do something nice that the transit tells you. But still, it's too many transits. And I want to tell you, and not always the planets are activated in our horoscope. You'll feel them like emotions, like feelings, all the transits. Each one of them you can watch and you'll see, for example, Mars square, Mercury square, Saturn might not give you all of the material manifestations of it, but it will definitely give you the emotional experience, that you feel a bit more structured, that you're feeling more suspicious, that you're maybe some, maybe a bit more negative tone of mind. But I want to tell you how to discriminate when something actual will happen from, rather than when something when you just feel the internal influence of a transit. And that's seen through profections. So now this is the very interesting part of this tutorial video that I think all of you will benefit the most from. And let me tell you, this is a chart that everyone, what is a profection? It's a system that shows when a planet is activated. Just a second. Sorry. So this is, you can see it on anywhere on the website. Here is a chart of profections. I'll open it. I hope you can see it. You can just go online also and Google it and say profected chart astrology. Profected. Profections is an ancient method which shows you which is the most important planet in your horoscope from birthday to birthday. So basically you have your horoscope, but it's not always activated, you know. You might have, for example, in your horoscope that it shows you're going to have 3 children, but you don't have them your whole life. You have to wait for that area that indicates 3 children to get activated 3 times, you know. Or you might see that in your horoscope, wow, this person will be very successful, Jupiter in the 10th house. And they're like, well, I'm 36 and I have no success in my life. Why is that? You have to see when this Jupiter, when that part of their horoscope will become active. And I'm going to show you how to see which will be the most important transit for you this year. And the year, we count it from birthday to birthday. It's not from the 1st of January to the 1st of January. Perfect. Your chart gets activated from your birthday to the next birthday. because that's when it's your new personal year. So you find out the age that you're in. So let me give you an example. Me, I'm the age 38. So where is this? 38, you find here, you know. So I'll be 39 this year, but I'm still 38. So from April, my birthday, 2019 to April 2020, I'm in the 38th year. And that means I'm in third house perfection. So you need to know a little bit of astrology now. So I want you to open your chart. Everyone knows how to get their chart. And find out, let's see, you can do it through astro.com. Very soon I'll have an amazing number of charts as well on my, within a year, that will have all the interpretations and videos. Just getting you excited. So let's see. So you go, you enter your birth details, use whatever software you want, whatever software, but I prefer to use, you have to use whole sign house system though. Whoops, chart style, sorry, house system, use whole sign. Here is the house system. If you know how to see your house, but I'm just showing it for those of you who don't know. So we need, this is used only with whole sign house system, but this is the most powerful technique. So back to that chart. So we saw that the age 38 for me, and you can check your own age. There are different charts for this. The age 38, you see, triggers the third house from the ascendant. So you go to your whole sign house system and see which is the third one. One, this is always the ascendant where you see the AC. One, oops, sorry. 1, 2, 3. So I'm in this year activating all those, this sign areas and all those planets. So transits from Mercury, Mars, Sun, and Venus will be all, and to them will be all important for me, but this very rare occasion. So for me, every transit almost this year, I really feel it. But for you, often there might be an empty sign. Say maybe you're 37 year perfection. So you might be in the perfected year. And if you have here, like I do, Pisces, then Jupiter becomes the most important planet. You definitely feel material results from the transits of Jupiter. For me this year, you have to see what is the ruler of that house. So let's give me another example. Say you are, but you look at your chart. Say you are 19 years old. So then you're in 8th house perfected year. So you go and find your 8th house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You always count the ascendant as the first one. So you go to here. So what is this sign? Virgo. What is Virgo ruled by? Mercury. So the most important planet that you're going to look for its transits will be the green transits, the Mercury transits. They will be the ones that the most specific and the most tangible material results will happen, where you see specific developments. But there are so many Mercury transits every year, you know, and that's why such a year that is ruled by Mercury will be very fast-paced for you, because there's so many transits and you'll feel a lot of them, a lot of communications and stuff. Or, and if you want to go further, say you're in a, like I am in the 38th year perfection, but look in my chart, this is the 3rd house, but I have 4 planets there. All those 4 planets get activated. So all green transits, Mercury, all Mars transits, which are the red ones for me, all the yellow transits, which are the Sun transits for me, and all the Venus transits, the pink one, will be important for me, because you look not only at the sign and its ruler, you look at the planet which is triggered and activated for you this birthday till my birthday, the 39th year in April 2020. So, and it's true that year has been the most hectic, the most full of things. It's like every time a transit hits, I feel it fully, it manifests, you know. But sometimes you might have, look, you might be in this perfected year. So like if you're using my chart, you might be in 12, you might be 35. So 35 is the 12th house. So here it is for me, Saturn. So then you feel the transits of Saturn the most. But Saturn moves very slowly. It has rarely transits, so things will move slower that year. There are not going to be many happenings, but when there is a happening, it will be very important, you know. But not only do you look, and look, there is no planet inside, so there is no other planet activated. But you need to know the rulers of the signs. So let me go one by one. If we use the ancient rulers, this is an ancient technique. Okay, starting from Aries. Aries ruled by Mars. So if you're in a Mars perfected, in an Aries perfected year, look at the transits of Mars. Taurus, if you're in Taurus perfected year, Venus is the ruler. Look at the pink transits, the planet Venus. If you're in Gemini perfected year, from birthday to birthday. Then Mercury, you look at the transits of Mercury, the green one. If you're in Cancer perfected year, now this becomes interesting. Cancer, the moon has like 10 transits every day. The moon rules Cancer. Then you're going to look at the if there are eclipses to planets in your horoscope, because the moons or the lunations, the new and the full moons, these will be the most important, that trigger important events for you. And transits to your moon, of course. If it's Leo, then the sun, then transits of the sun, the yellow ones will be very important, plus transits that are, plus the eclipses, which are included as well, solar and lunar eclipses, because they're formed by the sun. If you're Virgo perfected year, then Mercury, and you see, if you're like me, you have in Leo the moon, also transits to the moon and from the moon become important for you. If you're in Virgo perfected year, then the transits of Mercury, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, the green one, will become for you the most important ones. But you have to look at your chart, because here you might have a different sign at your 19th year perfection. You might have the sign of Gemini, for example. If you're the sign of Libra perfected year, then Venus becomes the most important sign for you that year. And the most important transits are the pink ones from Venus and to your Venus. And plus, look, I have an activation here, in my case, Saturn and Jupiter. Then I would consider so important the transits from Saturn and Jupiter, the orange and the brown one. If you're Scorpio perfected year, Mars transits become your most important. And you can include the Western astrology. You see there is Uranus here or Pluto here. So if it activates, it may be transits from Uranus, or if you're in this perfected year where your Pluto is, transits from Pluto and to Pluto will also be important. Then if you're a Sagittarius, Jupiter becomes the planet that will really manifest the good or the bad of its transits, the orange transits. And if you happen to have a planet in Sagittarius, then that planet, so look at transits from Neptune as well, they will be strongly important for you because it gets activated. If it's Capricorn, Saturn becomes your ruler for the year. If your perfected ascendant is, if your perfected year is Aquarius, then Saturn again becomes the ruler of the year, and its transits become the most important. And if it's Pisces, then it is Jupiter. We're using the traditional, okay, you can add also Neptune as the other ruler of Pisces. Neptune and Jupiter's aspects, transits become the most important. But you don't only look at transits from those planets, you see, because here they're color coded in my calendar. So you see all the transits from Neptune, the moving planet. That's the color that you're seeing. But you might also say you're in a perfected Mars here, like I am. So you see, oh, these will be important days. I'm like Mars transit, I'll feel them very strongly. But also transits to your natal Mars will be very important. So you have to find not only the red transits, but the ones that all of which contain the symbol of Mars. Here is the symbol of Mars. So everywhere you see the symbol of Mars. So you see here, this one will be also felt and important. This one doesn't, this one, well, these are the red ones, you know for sure they'll be important. Is there another Mars trans here? This one will be important, you'll feel it, because it includes Mars, the rule of your perfected year. Or say you are in a perfected moon year, Cancer, you're running Cancer period, and you're like, okay, so only the full and new moons and eclipses will affect me, but that's very rare. No, none of the other transits. No, also transits to your natal moon. So you look everywhere, you see the moon symbol, which is, of course, you can see here, this is the moon symbol. And if you're running a Cancer perfected year, you'll be like, oh, this is important transit. Where else? Oh my God, this is an important transit. Oh my God, again, the moon. And especially the longer ones, the longer they're, the more important. So you'll be like, wow. So currently my husband is running his moon perfected year. So he is so much feeling the Saturn trine moon. He's so much feeling this Pluto trine moon. All the transits to his moon are so strongly felt. Even the short ones, they're for a day or two, but it can either make or break those 1-2 days. All right. So this is how perfections are used. This is the most powerful technique to see which are the most important activated transits for you guys. Please use it. I highly recommend it if you want to really see the most important days. And by the way, if you don't want to log in all the time, you can just download your transits here. You can just download them and have them on your laptop. I don't know if you can do it on your phone. And once you've downloaded, you can put them on your desktop, for example, and all the long-lasting transits are in yellow. The ones that I told you from Mars onwards, they're in yellow. Oh, well, it's like, so you see Saturn, Neptune, the Mercury, the Sun ones, they're not included so much, but the Mars, Saturn, everything from Mars, the longer-lasting Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, you know, they are, and you see some days you can go for days without seeing any transits, basically, and you can, without seeing any important long-lasting transits, and then you see bam, 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 bam. So you can see, you can have those downloaded and look at them, tick, 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 and it shows you for how many days and everything. You can use that. I don't know why the dates are a bit confused here, but that's not the updated version. Oh, it just tells you the 3 times in the year when they happen. So you can see here, bam, bam, bam. On the 20th of May to the 9th of June, from the 18th of October till the 10th of November, you see when they are. So anyway, this is another way you can look at the transit calendar. So you see, it's full of, it's like a whole science. Just getting into checking your daily transits, you can get fascinated by astrology because, and you can see which are the really important transits for you. And some years there'll be so many transits that are important for you. Just like for me, you saw this year, I'm in a perfected Aries year, but I happen to have 4 planets there. So all those 4 planets get activated, plus the ruler of Aries, which is Mars. So all those planets, every time they make transit to my natal planets or a transit from them, something important happens. So this year, almost all my transits, I'm reading them, watching them. And then next year, there's no planet in my next perfected. It's just one planet that rules the sign. That will be Venus. So I'll be just looking at transits from Venus and to Venus. So I'll be looking at the pink ones and also anywhere I see the symbol of the planet Venus, and there'll be way less. So there'll be, it's more peaceful. There'll be way less things happening, or depending whether you're having hard transits to your Venus that year or not. And I'll be having kick-ass transits to my Venus, Pluto square Venus and Saturn square Venus. So it's not going to be such a peaceful year, but I'll have probably 2 major things to deal with: the Pluto square Venus and the Saturn square Venus, 2 major problems to deal with and overcome, rather than this year I have everything to deal with. You know, so this is how you're going to see how, you know, which are the important transits to see, which to pay most attention to, which not to freak out. For example, you might be seeing, oh, Saturn is going to square my sun, and it says horrible stuff there, problems with men, with bosses, vitality, health problems, reaping your, oh my God, I'm so depressed already. But you're in a Venus perfected year, and Saturn is not activated. So you're just gonna feel it as some kind of a lowered emotional mood. It's not going to be the major issue for you. You're just going to feel it like So Saturn is making aspect to your sun, but neither the sun nor Saturn. You're neither in a sun perfected year nor in a Saturn perfected year. So neither in Leo, neither in Capricorn or Aquarius perfected year, and neither the sun nor Saturn in any of the in your perfected sign. So then, yes, it's happening. Yes, for some people it might have been horrible or difficult, and you read there, oh my God, but you're in a Venus perfected year, and Venus is receiving a trine from Jupiter, or Venus is it's not having aspects. So yeah, for maybe 10, 15 days or a month while Saturn is squaring your sun, you'll feel it emotionally, like a fear or like a worry or like lowered vitality and vibration, but nothing like, oh, break up, or oh, losing your job, or the things that materially manifest. So the things that materially manifest happen only if the planet is activated often by perfection, by being in the sign of the perfection or ruling the sign perfection. And this planet, when it transits other planets in your chart, or when it's being transited. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. Maybe it's a mind boggle for you. If it's all too much, just use the transits. Just read them every day. That's how I learned astrology for years. And I would watch every daily transit I had, and I was fascinated. And I'm like, oh my God, this works. And I would first wait for the day to pass, then I would check my transit so I'll not be influenced. And I noticed that every day it would correspond. And that's how I learned the meanings of transits. And this is the meanings that I brought to you in this transit calendar, which you can use for free. And also you can have, just for 1 month, we're opening a legacy membership that you can have a lifetime access to it if you purchase that legacy membership, as you know. And it closes in March, I think. So it's one lifetime, once only offer, because after that, it's not going to be, you can just buy months by month. So thank you so much. I love you. And yeah, comment below, or if you have questions, or email me how to use it and if you got it right. Okay, that was a tutorial from me on how to use transit.